everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be doing my November wrap-up. So today is November 30th, which means it is my birthday! Yay! So today I'm turning 23 and I already feel like I'm 93, so that's fun. But since the month ends on my birthday, we are going to be doing a wrap-up. I am so thrilled with how this month went. Like, I cannot stress that enough. I'm very proud of myself because I did two things. One, I finished writing my novel, so I wrote 60,000 words within the entire month. That was just in this month. I won NaNoWriMo early. Not to pat myself on the back, but I killed it. And secondly, I still managed to read quite a few books, so I'm just super excited and I just want to talk about them. I'll talk more about my book in a writing update soon. Don't know when, but let's get to talking about what I read this month. So first of all, I did want to mention I didn't end up finishing, but I am halfway through The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee, so hopefully I'll be able to finish this in December because I had tried the audiobook. Now I'm actually physically reading it and I'm like close to being done, but obviously I haven't gotten there yet. Now in the month of November, I did partner with Penguin Teen for the Fall into Fantasy readathon, which was a readathon dedicated to reading fantasy. It was so much fun. I loved doing it. I did a whole vlog, so I will link that down below for you guys. But in the course of that readathon, I read 2 books, which isn't a ton, but I am still really excited about that because that was also the week when I won NaNoWriMo, and they are 2 books that I really enjoyed. So the first book is the book that I was buddy reading for the readathon, and that is Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. This is an Evil Queen retelling that had been on my TBR for a very long time, and I just hadn't picked it up yet, but I'm so glad that this readathon gave me the final push I needed to pick it up because this was a fascinating read. I loved seeing the mythological and cultural inspiration for this story. I think it really turned a lot of conventions on their head as well. I just love a book where you get to see an inside scoop at why an evil character becomes evil, and this gave me just that. I just loved following the main character and kind of seeing her descent, and I was like rooting for her even though I knew she was doomed. I still wanted the best for her, and it was just so well written and kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. It was a little bit slow in the beginning, but if you can power through the beginning, it will really be worth it in the end. It is a beautiful story, honestly, unlike anything I've ever read before, so I highly recommend it. So overall, I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars, probably more of a 4.5 though. Next, I finally picked up Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I am so happy that I finally read this, but I have to say, I don't think I enjoyed it as much as everyone else seems to. It's not that I didn't like it, because I really did. It's just, I feel like everyone else gives it like a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm somewhere between a 4 and a 5. It was a really good story, and it was a little bit tropey, but I didn't mind that at all because it's tropes in a new way. Like, it's tropes with a completely different culture examining them. So that didn't bug me. The only thing that did was I had a few issues with one of the characters in particular, and he just really annoyed me, and I wanted the romance to go different ways than it ended up going. So that was a little bit frustrating, but it was a very interesting quest narrative, and I loved the magic system. The world building was fantastic. Like, this is an incredible debut novel. It reads like a well-timed fantasy author. I listened to the audiobook, and I think that next year before the sequel comes out, I'll probably reread it, but like actually physically read it, so then I can get the full scope of the story and maybe my opinion will change. I don't really know, but I had a lot of comparisons ahead of time that I had heard about that were comparing it to Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I've only seen like 3 episodes of, but the whole time I was reading it, I was like, yes, I see it. I totally get where the comparison is coming from, so that is definitely a good comparison, and if you are looking to read a story like that, then you should check this book out. So like I said, my rating's kind of between a 4 and a 4.5 out of 5 stars, so it's like 4/4.5, which isn't concise at all, but I can't choose. Next, I picked up What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This is a book that I really wanted to love, and I didn't. I have super mixed feelings on it. I didn't really like the way that the relationship went. I felt like it was like not happening and then all of a sudden it was, and it felt a little bit forced to me. Like, obviously I was expecting the insta love because it's a meet cute story. That's the whole point of it. But I still didn't feel like I could really get behind the relationship. It just didn't feel like it worked. Now, I will say that the writing blended seamlessly. You couldn't tell that it was written written by two authors. However, I found that it took me, and maybe it's because I was listening to the audiobook, but that had different narrators, so that doesn't really make sense. But it took me a while to distinguish between the two characters and their perspectives. I kept on having to flip back and be like, wait, who is this that is speaking? So that was kind of confusing. I felt like once the relationship got going, it was cute. It was just, I didn't believe it because it was really like tumultuous in the beginning, and I don't know. I just have a lot of feelings. I do love the cast of side characters. I thought they were awesome, and the ending was a surprise, but it wasn't really a surprise for me because I was spoiled for it, so I can't really comment on that too much, but I think that other readers will definitely be surprised by it. But overall, it was just kind of like a slow story, and I just didn't like it as much as I had wanted to, but I love the author's writing, and like I said, once the relationship got going, there were a lot of really cute moments, but I just gave this a 3 out of 5 stars, which isn't a bad rating by any means, but when you were thinking going into it that it was going to be 5 out of 5 stars, that kind of sucks. Next is another book that I really just don't know how I'm going to rate it because I don't know how I feel about it, because once again, I have super mixed feelings, and that is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I've heard a lot of polarizing opinions on this book. A lot of people really, really love it, but then a lot of people just don't get it, and I totally understand why, but I feel like I do fall somewhere in the middle with it because it's basically a story about a sudden rise to fame on the internet and what that means nowadays. It's kind of an examination of modern day society and social media and all of that stuff. So that was really interesting for me, especially being someone who I honestly kind of hate social media, but like it's kind of my job now. So obviously everything in this book was on a much larger scale because she had like millions and millions of followers, and I have to say if I had that, I would probably quit. I'd be like, no thank you. As it is, I get terrible anxiety whenever I post a video, so I couldn't do that. But even though my experience is on a much smaller scale, I still found the story to be really relatable in a lot of aspects. It's written like a memoir, which was very interesting, but there's a lot of sciencey things that were happening that were kind of confusing me and like going over my head. Not that it was really complicated, I was just like, what am I reading? And I feel like that's going to be the experience of a lot of readers while reading this because it kind of messes with your head because you're like, what is happening? Like, I was expecting this to be one thing and then it's a whole other thing, so that happened. I feel like it's probably a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I don't know. Like, I listened to the audiobook, so maybe I need to physically read it and see how I feel about it, but I just still really don't know how I feel about it, so let's move on. Next is Pride by ReadbyZoe. I was really excited to pick this up because it is a Pride and Prejudice remix, and ReadbyZoe is an author that I've read before, and I really enjoyed her first book, American Street. I thought it was very well done, so I was eager to pick up what she came out with next, and it definitely didn't disappoint me. I thought this was an awesome retelling. It really just took the story and fit it into a modern day neighborhood, so it's set in Brooklyn, and it's following kind of the increasing gentrification and how people who have lived there forever are being bought out because the houses are now worth so much. So that's what's happening to our main character, and this guy moves in and she's like, no, like you're all like posh and everything and you're ruining my neighborhood basically. I loved the poetry that was interspersed throughout the story. It was very well written and added a different level to it, and I just feel like everything about this book was really thoughtfully done. Like, she didn't just pick a random spot to set the story. She picked the specific neighborhood because she wanted to make a comment, and it had a purpose, which I loved. So you really see this meeting of the two worlds, and it's a conflict, but there's also like a relationship building there, so very interesting, and I highly recommend it if you are looking for a retelling for Pride and Prejudice. So overall, I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. So this next book is going to probably come as a major surprise to all of you, and that is because I DNF'd one of my most anticipated releases for the entire year. So I wasn't expecting it, and it just, yeah. But that book is Bridge of Clay by Marcus Zusak. So if you've been watching my videos for a while now, you know that The Book Thief is one of my favorite books of all time. It's like my top 2. It is a fantastic book, and I love it. But it's also a book that has a lot of differing opinions because there's certain people that can't get into it, can't really grasp the perspective that it's told from, and I totally respect that because it is a very different story and his writing is very different. But unfortunately, what people describe as their experience with The Book Thief is what happened to me with this book. I got 80% of the way through the audiobook, which was narrated by the author, so I was like, cool, I'll do the audiobook. But I realized I don't care about these characters, and I don't really want to know how their story ends. I was going to continue with it since I was so close to the end, but I was like, I could listen to another another audiobook in this time and I would be much happier. So I ended up stopping my listen. I do plan on trying to physically reading it and maybe see, that was a bad sentence, but trying to physically read it and maybe I will end up enjoying it, but I just don't really see that happening anytime soon. I really do want to give it a second shot. Since this is an author that I loved his other books so much, I would just really like to try it, but this just unfortunately wasn't for me and it breaks my heart to say that, but I mean, what can you do? And the final book that I read this month is Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This book has been on my TBR for 2 years, so I'm so happy that I have finally read it, and I'm also very happy to say that I really enjoyed it. So going into it, all I knew about this story was that it's about a princess who is arranged in a marriage to this prince, and she ends up falling in love with the prince's sister instead, and that was enough to hook me, and that's really the basis of the story. It's a romantic fantasy. There are different fantastical things going on, like political intrigue, stuff like that, but the main focus of the story is really the tension between the two characters and wanting them to be together, and it was a beautiful relationship. I loved the fact that the focus of the story wasn't that she was in love with a girl, and that was the problem. The problem was that she's already betrothed to someone else and she's in love with the sister, not her gender or anything. It's just inconvenient for, like, I guess political reasons. But I did also really enjoy the other aspects of the fantasy apart from the romance. I thought they were very well done, and it was a really great audiobook to listen to, so if you had been putting this off, I highly recommend that you check it out. So overall, I would give this a 3.75 out of 5 stars, which seems very specific, but like, it's not quite a 4? I don't know. Apparently my rating system is all messed up today, but please be kind to me because it's my birthday. So that is all for today's wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much to Penguin Teen for partnering with me for the Fall into Fantasy readathon. I had so much fun doing that, and like I said, I'm really happy with how November went. Hopefully December will be just as successful, but the next 24 days, yes, 24 days, December 1st to December 24th, I will have a new video going up every day because it is Bookmas! So Bookmas 2018 is obviously way bigger than 2017 and way bigger than 2016. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. I haven't even started filming the videos for it. I really need to do that, so I hope you guys are really excited for Bookmas. I know I'm excited to do it. It's just very daunting when I haven't even really started it. So look forward to the next 24 days of videos. Subscribe if you don't want to miss anything. Click that notification bell if you really don't want to miss anything. And you can also follow me on all of my social media. All my handles, links, all that jazz will be down below for you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!